G'day, I'm Paul. One of the EVs that surprised me this year is the Zeekr 7X. We drove the Performance a little while back and I was just genuinely impressed with that thing from a packaging point of view and a performance point of view. It was a really nice car to drive. This, on the other hand, is the 7X mid-spec. So basically long-range rear-wheel drive. So if the Performance is too expensive, the long-range rear-wheel drive kind of meets you in the middle there. This is priced at just under $65,000. So it is a step up over the entry level that's under 60 grand, but still in a sort of nice sweet spot for people buying in this segment. Today we're going to do a detailed review of this car. So if you do want to skip ahead to other parts of this review, you've got time codes on the screen, or if you're on YouTube, you can scroll down and use the chapters below. Now, if you're seeing this video twice, that's because I made a stuff up. I thought that this was the base car, and then while we were reviewing it, we kind of figured out that it wasn't, and we forgot to edit that bit out at the start of the video. So we thought, let's just shoot this again. So I'm wearing these clothes now, but in a few minutes, you're going to see me wearing something different. So let's talk about the design. I don't love it here in this white color because the white color is just a bit boring, especially compared to the green color we had with that Performance. And it's worth calling out as well that we're going to be holding on to this car for a little while. I've now done maybe 2,000 Ks in this. It's going to be shared amongst the wider editorial team as well. So we're going to spend a bit more time with it to see exactly what it's like to live with. So from a design perspective, I've seen stacks of these on the road now, and I think they're a really good looking car. That's one of the things that Zeekr does really well. We drove the 9X over in China the other day, and I thought that looked sensational as well. So yeah, maybe not white, but good looking car regardless. You've got full LED headlights down the front here, and then piano black. I mean, it's sort of there and here and all over the joint. But anyway, you've got a chubby set of tyres here. So the Performance rides on air suspension. This one doesn't have air suspension. So I'll be curious to see whether this actually has that sort of same ride comfort that we had in the Performance. That is one of the things that these guys have really nailed well. They've just given this the ability to ride beautifully. So hopefully this one's in the same boat, and it's a pretty chubby profile tyre there as well on a 19-inch alloy wheel. You've got cameras all over the place here. So they sort of team together to give you different views around the car. But in China, this has quite an advanced autonomous system. This doesn't have any LiDAR here in Australia, but there is a module that goes up there for the Chinese market. So I am hoping they'll start bringing some of that stuff to Australia. At the moment, Tesla with its full self-driving supervisor is really the only one that's doing the kind of hands-off semi-autonomous driving. The rest of these guys are kind of in that sort of limbo space in between because they're unwilling to bring all the LiDAR cars and activate that functionality in Australia. The door handles pop out when you unlock the car. We've had a few issues with the functionality of this, because maybe if you're an owner and if you've got your phone paired, it kind of works better. But if you have the key in your pocket, sometimes the door handles present themselves, sometimes they don't. Sometimes the car locks on its own, sometimes it doesn't. So I think that really needs to be sorted because it should be basic locking and unlocking the car. I don't know why it's so complex here. Privacy glass, you've got a full glass roof up there as well. And then come around to the back with me. Around the back, you've got 7X badge over here, and then Zeekr insignia through there as well. So let me know what you reckon about this. What do you think about the pricing? It is sort of right up there with some of the other competitors in this segment in terms of pricing, but it is delivering a stack of driving range and a really big car as well for your money. So I'm curious to see what you think about that. If you are in the market for a new car, you can scan the QR code on the screen. That'll put you in touch with our marketplace team. We get really great pricing through a lot of dealers around Australia, and we may be able to save you money. We may not. I can't make any promises, but it helps fund the YouTube channel if you buy through us, and it costs you nothing, which is the best part. So if we can save you money, that's great. Whether you're buying a Zeekr or anything else, give us a crack and see how you go. Okay, so we're inside the 7X. We've already done a detailed review of the interior of the 7X. So if you do want to check that out, there's a link in the description to our previous review of this where you can watch that or put something up on the screen. Now, having sort of been with this car for a little while now, driving it sort of on and off between the other guys in the office, I really have grown to like the infotainment system, the screen ahead of the driver, the sound system, and also the way this drives in terms of the safety aids. A lot of Chinese market cars are just so poorly tuned when it comes to driver distraction monitors and traffic sign recognition and all that sort of stuff. Once you switch off the things you don't want here, it stays off, and the car is just so enjoyable to drive because it doesn't annoy you all the time. The lane support system could be a little bit better, and I'll talk about that later on when we go for a drive, but the primary functions here on the nav, on the infotainment screen are good. Everything's sort of easy enough to find. You don't need to go faffing around looking for things. You've got full smartphone integration, so Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. The fact that it takes up the entire screen here as well, I just think is excellent. The only downside to this is I have noticed on a couple of occasions now, if I go through a toll gantry, it will then start lagging audio because it will drop out briefly and it doesn't seem to fix itself until your next drive. So that is something that they definitely need to look at because it affects the ability to speak to people because they can't really understand what you're saying because it lags ever so slightly. So yeah, just something I need to look at. But outside of that, the rest of these functions are quite good. Screen ahead of the driver, not a huge amount you can customize there, but it gives you all your critical information in easy to understand menus. So it's not like it's a huge learning curve. Everything is very straightforward. If you're going to buy one of these, you don't necessarily need to have a degree in technology to understand how it all works. Outside of that, storage is great. You've got center storage here for drinks, center console here that is enormous. So that goes all the way down. In China, they've got other versions of this vehicle and other vehicles that have a fridge built into here as well, which is cool. You've got storage down the bottom here as well. Now, I did read the comments on our last 7X review when I said there's no sunglasses holder. Well, it's in the extremely not logical location of being in this armrest over here. So while you're driving, if you want your sunnies out, you've got to basically take your eyes off the road for several seconds, faff with this, grab your sunnies out. Not a great location, but it does have sunglasses holders, so no need to panic there. Lots of seat adjustment as well, so you can get nice and comfy in your seats. One of the other things I don't like is you've got an electronic release for the door, which is fine, but the emergency release is buried under here somewhere and virtually impossible to find. And if you do end up in an accident, and for whatever reason your doors don't open, they're sort of programmed to open in the event of an accident. But yeah, just having to find one of these emergency release levers is no good. They're actually improving this in China, which will flow down to the cars that we get here in Australia in terms of making all of this stuff easier to find because yeah, the way that it's set up now is a bit sort of unacceptable for that. Now, second row, when I say that this is good as a family car, this is what I mean. Look at how much space I've got. Like even for adults to sit here and relax, you have so much room. The seats recline, so you can go forwards and backwards. So you have just that extra bit of customizability. Center armrest here with a pair of cup holders and then a storage nook there with a USB A and C port. This is where you'll find a little bit of storage and then this whole section can be released. And you've got a fun little camera up here as well. Look at that. When I talk about this as a family car as well, you're getting all of the features here that make this useful for a family that has younger kids and older kids. Like for me, I've got a 4-year-old. I can fit her seat here easily. The doors open really wide. She's got heaps of room to stretch out. It's nothing for her to play with and break around here, which is good. So from a family point of view, it's great. Even the fact that you can individually lock doors and windows on either side of the car. As a comparison to a Model Y as a family vehicle, I mean, this is pretty much as good as it gets. Now, continuing on that family theme, let's have a look at cargo space. So this is quite reasonable as well. You've got a cargo blind there, underfloor storage, so that first section there, and then this back section as well. You've got over 500 litres of space here just in this sort of standard setup. 12-volt outlet off to the side. Can expand this to get around 2,000 litres of space. So it is a monstrous vehicle there in terms of how much cargo it can swallow. Now, charging and battery and stuff. So it is a, there it is. It is a 100 kilowatt hour battery. So it's an NMC chemistry. That means you don't really want to be charging it to 100% all the time, but it is good for energy density. So you have AC charging, 3-phase 22 kilowatt, which is as good as it gets for AC charging. And then DC charging, over 400 kilowatts. That is crazy. That is so impressive. So from a charging standpoint, this is excellent. Driving range of over 600 kilometers as well. So it is, there's some proper numbers there in terms of how far you can actually go. And we'll check the efficiency as well because we've reset the computer when we pick the car up. I'll be curious to see where we're at the moment once we go for a spin. Before you hit the road, it's worth thinking about insurance. That's why we've partnered with UE for this review. For insurance that's a bit more U-shaped, head to UE.com.au. Okay, we've just hit the road in the 7X long range. So it produces over 300 kilowatts of power, over 400 newton meters of torque, but not a crazy amount over. And there is a reason behind that. You've got a 100 kilowatt hour battery, so it's an enormous battery. If you send heaps of power to the rear wheels, because this is rear wheel drive only in this spec, you would overcome the level of grip that you have at the rear, and you'd end up with a car that is virtually undrivable, especially in the wet. So they've really been quite clever with the way they've dialed in the torque delivery here. And if you compare this to something like a Model Y long range, the Model Y long range is all-wheel drive. So it is faster because it is all-wheel drive, but you pay the penalty there because you have to have an electric motor on the front axle as well. That adds weight, and as a result of that, you have to have a smaller battery. So you're just sort of playing there between battery density and massive car. And I think here Zeekr's done a great job with it because you don't have to have that extra electric motor. And as a result of that, you get to have a bigger battery. Now, how does all that feel behind the wheel? I've just got it in the standard mode here. If I give it a poke, it gives you a really nice solid push in the back. Those power and torque numbers, they're a little bit deceiving because they don't look all that high, but from here behind the wheel, it really gives you a nice slap in the back. And it shows you that it has more than enough traction at the rear there to sort of hold everything together. If you then have a look at the economy, that's probably the thing that surprised me the most with this particular spec. I was expecting at 100 kilowatt hour battery size, that is a big battery in a vehicle like this, that it would probably chew through a fair bit of energy to move itself. Surprisingly though, it is using around 16 kilowatt hours per 100 Ks. That is not too far away from what you're getting with a sort of base Tesla Model Y, which has a significantly smaller battery, mind you. So I think that they've done a really great job here with the economy. I've put probably 1,000 Ks on this car now, and predominantly been highway driving, which is typically not as efficient or economical as throwing in city driving as well. And to me, these figures are great because it means that you can easily achieve some of the mileage claims, and here they're claiming over 600 kilometres worth of driving range. If I'm critical about something, and something that annoys me a little bit, it's the regen. I've got it in the strong setting at the moment. You've got either, what is it? I think it's like normal, standard and strong. I've got one pedal drive activated, but even in strong, when I roll out of it, it's sort of okay. I prefer it to be a little stronger and for the one pedal drive to end quicker. It kind of wants you to be on the brakes to bring it to a stop, as opposed to it just sort of doing it a little faster. So that's one thing they can improve with a software update, but aside from that, the regen typically tends to work quite well. The ride is surprising. I mentioned at the start of the video that the performance version has air suspension, which natively gives you better ride characteristics because you have adaptive damping. It's just a more sophisticated but much heavier suspension system. This, without air suspension, is still remarkably good. I don't know how they've been able to achieve this, but for such a big vehicle like this, the ride quality is fantastic. So we'll see if that translates to sort of being good when it's fast as well, because I was, again, impressed with 7X performance in terms of its handling. We'll see if this sort of matches up to that in terms of how it performs once the speed picks up. Now, what's it like over our sine waves? We do this at 130 Ks an hour. It's the maximum speed limit in Australia. It just gives us a great understanding of how the ride is tuned for sine waves like this that you're going to encounter out in the country. So let's see what it's like. Yeah, that's good. So not as sophisticated as the performance model with its air suspension, but still really well controlled and just beautifully damped over that. So yeah, I like it. Okay, now our bumpy road. We do this at 90 Ks an hour. We'll see whether the ride is as good over this surface as it is on the smooth stuff. Yeah, that feels really good. We've got our condensed sine wave here as well. Give us an indication of what it's like on this higher frequency stuff. Look at that, that is falling into those divots perfectly. Done a really good job with this car. Now, what about your visibility? So the wing mirrors are sort of pretty decent size, not enormous, but not too small. Visibility out the back is pretty poor, and I just wish they had like a digital rear view mirror here, because it would really solve that issue of looking out the back. Because at the moment, if you do have passengers in there, it's going to be hard to see. Even now, it's quite a narrow envelope, so that's something they can definitely improve. Then you've got a button here to activate the camera while you're driving at lower speeds. If I drop that down to under 30 Ks an hour, so for things like parking and stuff like that, it just brings up the whole camera, so you can easily put the car in position. And I love these cameras down here. show you exactly where the front wheels are placed. So if you're turning into a parking spot that's next to a curb or something, it just gives you proper visibility around the vehicle, and something that more vehicles need to have, I reckon. On the road noise front, they've done a great job with insulation here. Even on coarse chip roads, it is pretty quiet inside the cabin. So sort of hat off to them for making this a nice, pleasant driving experience. Okay, let's go for a slightly faster lap. I'm going to pop this into sport mode. Let's give that a stab. Oh, man. That is crazy. The acceleration just goes... It was good in standard, but in sport mode, my God, it must be right at the traction limit for this as a rear-wheel drive. So let's see how it feels through here. The steering feels good. A bit more throttle through there. Wow, that is hooking up really nicely. Yeah, look, it's got a degree of body roll there, but I'm not getting any sort of funniness with the traction control system. It's sort of just hooking up really nicely, and it is hoofing along. It is surprising how they can make a car this big just feel as nimble and sporty as it is, especially as a rear-wheel drive. I just feel like I have stacks of traction here. See what the brake pedal's like over the tram tracks, which often is the undoing of electric cars. That is really well tuned as well. I'm not getting degradation in regen there. I tell you what, this is surprising. I was expecting the rear-wheel drive to be significantly worse than the all-wheel drive, but this really, I just don't see the compromises here. I'll give it a punch on the back straight. Yeah, that is absolutely hammering. Wow. Holy moly. That is impressive. I'm really impressed by this. Okay, time to do a little bit of performance testing. I'll put the ESC into sport mode as well, just for fun. I just want to see how quick this goes from 0 to 100 and then all the way through to 120, so we can get our 80 to 120 overtaking time. So here we go. Okay, so it's got no launch control, so I'll just, I guess I'll just stand on the throttle. So here we go. In sport mode, it gets to about 40 and then it just unleashes more torque at you. It's unreal. All right, there's 120. I mentioned before, if they tried to give you all that torque super early, you'd end up with a whole bunch of wheel spin. So that is 0 to 100, 5.66 seconds. So nice and healthy acceleration time there. 80 to 120 in 2.68. So that is the bigger number there, because 2.68 from 80 to 120 is stupidly fast. Okay, let's do a stop from 100 and see what the brake and tyre package is like. All right. So that is 100 to 0 in 2.7 seconds. Nice, and 37.1 meters. So very strong stopping distance there. Anything between 35 and 40 is typically pretty good, so nice. Now, how quickly does it go in reverse? Let's have a look. Okay, there it is. 31 kilometers an hour. Okay, Zeekr 7X, I was really impressed with the performance version. This has impressed me as much. Yes, you don't get a couple of the fancy features you get in the performance version, like the auto doors and that sort of stuff, but to be honest, the driving range that you get out of this, you really don't have any compromises. Maybe some people may say the fact that it's not all-wheel drive is a compromise, but to me, you're still getting really strong acceleration. The driving dynamics are great. I just don't see like you're losing out there, and you're getting some excellent driving range as well. You've got great charging speeds. This car is very hard to fault. So the only thing I will sort of point out, we've seen Xpeng go out of business here in Australia, or they're about to come back into business or whatever, but I don't have any confidence in that whole thing at the moment. Zeekr, on the other hand, seems to be quite well established. I'd be curious to see, with the huge influx of cars that they've sold, how they manage sort of customers and fixing customer problems, because that is ultimately the sign that you want to have as a buyer, knowing that you can get stuff solved. So have you bought a Zeekr? Let me know how it's going in the comments section. But aside from that, I think this car is fantastic and a real credible alternative to the Tesla Model Y without all the annoying gimmicky beeps, the bongs and all that sort of stuff that just does your head in. So if you did enjoy this video, please make sure you like it and you share it with your mates. And yeah, if you're looking to buy one, scan that QR code on the screen and have a chat with my mates in the marketplace team. But until next time, take it easy.